Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm glad to see you here. So today I've got another true crime story for you. And this one really rattled me the most. I guess because of the number of people whose lives it really affected. So it's kind of really sad, and I would say viewer discretion is advised. So, what if the person you once loved became your deadliest nightmare? Obsession, jealousy, revenge. Brenda Delgado's seemingly innocent heartbreak spiraled into a sinister obsession that shattered lives forever. When her former boyfriend found new love, Brenda orchestrated the most chilling murder plot that sent shockwaves through Dallas, Texas. Tonight, we're going to unravel the dark journey of how love turned into a lethal obsession. Welcome back to another episode of Twisted Tuesdays True Crime and Mystery Stories. Prepare yourself, this is the horrible true story of Brenda Delgado. Before we get into the story, please leave a like for the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it. Alright, Brenda Delgado was born on July 18th, 1982, in Mexico. Her childhood was a modest, normal childhood, and her parents and her would eventually relocate to Dallas, Texas, in the pursuit of the American dream. Brenda quickly adapted to life here too. She excelled academically and socially. She made a lot of friends. She was known to be bright, ambitious, independent. People said that she was deeply loyal but also intensely emotional. Sounds like a Leo. Many of them, nothing against Leos, I am a Leo, but many of them said she was fiercely devoted to her family, and she would often help care for her younger siblings and help support her parents with errands and stuff around their house as well. Friends described her as beautiful, outgoing, someone who could just light up the room. She was someone you could call at 2 a.m. and she would be there. She would come. Whatever you needed, she would help you out with it. So she was a really good, loyal friend and didn't seem like too bad of a person. But Brenda's path would cross with Ricky Penguia in 2012, changing the course of her life forever. Ricky was highly intelligent and ambitious, and he was very good looking. Born and raised in Texas, he came from a family that valued education and hard work. He had a reputation for being charismatic and focused, and he had dreams of making a difference in the medical field. He earned his undergraduate degree at the University of Texas, and he was accepted into the prestigious University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas to pursue his dermatology degree. Colleagues described him as respectful, quiet, and driven. In his personal life, he just valued calmness and stability and mutual respect. These were the traits that initially drew him to Brenda Delgado. At first, she presented herself as caring, supportive, and sharing the same goals as him. Their connection just felt natural, grounded. They shared aspirations for success, marriage, family, just the stuff that any romantic partners would want, you know? Their early romance was picture perfect, they said. Friends of hers would say. Filled with romantic dinners, shared holidays, deep conversations about their dreams, and they even moved in together at one point. They were seen out around Dallas together all the time, attending just community events and enjoying each other's company. Ricky admired Brenda's intelligence, and he kind of backed her up on the whole going to dental school thing. But over time, Ricky began to notice some subtle red flags. Brenda would become anxious if he was out of touch with her for any period of time, and she began expressing distrust over his female colleagues. At first, he just brushed it off as insecurity, he would tell himself, but as the months passed, her behavior escalated into having frequent arguments. Give passive aggressive comments, and she kind of attempted to control his social life completely. Still, he tried to make it work, confiding in his friends that he believed that Brenda just needed reassurance. Ultimately, the relationship grew toxic, though. Ricky made the difficult decision to end things and told his friends that he cared about Brenda a lot. But he was feeling increasingly trapped, understandably. It wasn't just healthy anymore, he would later say. Friends noticed Brenda's increasing possessiveness and jealousy, traits Ricky found just way too overwhelming, as anybody would. Arguments became more frequent, and she just smothered him, pretty much. And by this time, the strain became unbearable, and by 2014, Ricky decided to break things off with Brenda, hoping they could part ways and still be friends, maybe. But testimony from Brenda's friends later revealed how she struggled to deal with the cope after the breakup. And she was having a really hard time. One of her former classmates and roommates said that she was devastated. She didn't eat, she didn't sleep, and that she said that her entire life was stolen from her when he moved on. Another friend from college recounted how she would go to like mutual friends' houses or places where she'd think that he would be, and he just said it was sad at first, but then it got uncomfortable. She was not letting go of Ricky. Brenda was unable to accept the end of the relationship, and she spiraled into this obsession. She tracked Ricky's movements through social media, showing up at the salsa studio even while he was dancing, and even while he was running. She had actually kept his iCloud information, and she had access to all the messages in his phone, where he was at all times, so even the messages between him and his new girlfriend. That's creepy. Unknown by Ricky, though, of course. But she became like stalker material. She even maintained connections with all his friends, tried to anyway. They all thought she was really weird after this. But her fixation deepened when Ricky began dating Dr. Kendra Hatcher. Friends later testified that Brenda would bring up Kendra constantly, her looks, her background, even her social media activity. Kendra was beautiful. She really was. But Brenda kept saying how she just couldn't stop talking about her, and former friends and coworkers would say that. She would say, like, what does she have that I don't? And he's supposed to be with me. Just disturbing stuff. But Kendra Hatcher is the girl he'd started to date, and she was an accomplished pediatric dentist originally from Pleasant Plains, Illinois, a small town where just everybody knew everybody. She was the captain of her cheerleading squad in high school, and she was so well loved by everyone. When she graduated with honors from the University of Illinois, she earned her dental degree from the University of Kentucky College of Dentistry. Her colleagues remembered her as someone who could make any child feel just at ease in the dentist chair. She was warm, approachable, and just full of life. Her patients adored her, and her parents commented on her gentle touch, calming demeanor, and she could light up any room as well. They said that about Brenda too. But beyond her profession, Kendra was a well-rounded and vibrant person. She volunteered at medical missions in underserved areas and regularly donated her time to children's organizations. Friends described her as graceful and intelligent, someone who has always seemed to be moving forward in life with purpose and kindness. Her relationship with Ricky was a whirlwind, started fast. The two met through mutual acquaintances, and they became inseparable, and almost immediately. They shared a love for travel, good food, and deep intellectual conversations. Those close to Ricky said he was happier than they had ever seen him in years. Kendra brought out a different side of him. He smiled more, seemed more genuinely excited about the future, his friends said. So by the summer of 2015, Ricky and Kendra were discussing long-term plans. They had traveled together frequently, took weekend trips, and even spent time visiting each other's families. It was a relationship built on mutual respect and admiration, something Brenda could not bear to watch from the outside. Friends later testified that Brenda was obsessed with knowing every single little detail about Kendra's life. She would scroll through her social media profiles, take screenshots, even ask mutual friends about where she worked, who she socialized with. The contrast between Kendra's thriving new relationship and Brenda's emotional descent became more and more stark as the weeks passed. So Brenda is just consumed by jealousy. And so she goes and talks to people that she promises all this stuff to. She meticulously planned to remove Kendra from Rick's life permanently. She recruited Crystal Cortez, promising her $500 and some drugs and a car. and Christopher Love, a criminal willing to kill for money, and that she, I guess, promised him a lifetime supply of cocaine. It's not funny. This is horrible. Brenda's manipulation was ruthless, though, exploiting their vulnerabilities to carry out her sinister plot without personally straining her hands with any blood at all. Didn't care that this Crystal girl had a kid or anything. In testimony given during the trial, Crystal Cortez stated that Brenda was calm and methodical while planning the murder. She also said she wanted Kendra gone, and that once she was out of the picture, Ricky would come back to her. She actually believed that. She said that Brenda even gave 3 ways the murder could be done, but ultimately Mr. Love decided a bullet would be easier. So, September 2nd, 2015, Kendra returned home from her luxury apartment in uptown Dallas, unaware she was being watched. As she exited her vehicle in the parking garage, Christopher Love, wearing dark clothing and gloves, approached her from behind. He was armed with a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol. He demanded her belongings. And according to the surveillance footage, and later they did a forensic reconstruction of it, Kendra attempted to comply. She started to hand over her stuff, held her hands up, and she started to turn, but it was too late. Mr. Love shot her at close range in the back of the head. The single bullet caused catastrophic trauma, and Kendra collapsed instantly beside her car. Prosecutors would later reveal that she likely never saw the killer's face. So paramedics arrived quickly, but Kendra was pronounced dead at the scene. There was nothing that could be done. Investigators described the scene as chilling. Her purse lay just feet away, untouched. It was a targeted hit, not a robbery. The bullet had been fired with precision, and the killer fled without taking anything at all from her. One detective even later testified in court. He said it was clear it wasn't random. The level of intent and the way it was executed, it was more of an assassination. Witnesses who lived in the building reported hearing a single gunshot and seeing a car speed away. It was a black Jeep. Crystal Cortez, driving the getaway vehicle, later confirmed that Brenda had instructed them to scout out the garage earlier that day and wait for the perfect moment to act. During trial, medical examiners described the nature of the wound and stated that Kendra would have experienced an instant loss of consciousness, and she died within minutes. Her death was very quick, but brutally violent, a calculated strike from a plan conceived by someone that she had never even met. Not horrible? It's crazy. So detectives rapidly pieced together the events leading to Kendra's murder, thanks to all the surveillance videos of the parking garage. And when they brought Crystal Cortez in, she had a child, so she confessed pretty quickly, and she detailed Brenda's involvement. Christopher Love was captured shortly after. Then Brenda fled to Mexico, and she temporarily evaded justice and became one of the 10 most wanted FBI fugitives. They offered a $100,000 reward for her capture. They finally did capture her in 2016, and it was highly publicized. It was an extradition to the United States from Mexico. The trials captivated the public, featuring emotional testimonies, vivid recountings of the murder, and chilling evidence put on by the prosecutors. During court proceedings, all the text messages, phone records, and surveillance footage, it was all introduced clearly. And it showed how Brenda's obsessive behavior and the careful planning that went into Kendra Hatcher's murder. One of the key pieces of evidence was the text messages exchanged between Brenda and Crystal Cortez, in which Brenda coached Crystal on how to follow Kendra, suggested disguises even, and gave instructions on how to evade police. This woman is sick, truly. Christopher Love ultimately received the death penalty and was charged with capital murder on October 2018. During his trial, prosecutors revealed that Brenda had supplied the gun used in the murder and promised Christopher a payout after the crime. Crystal Cortez struck a deal with prosecutors in the case and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. For her role in the murder as the getaway driver. She testified and she was manipulated by Brenda, who promised her money and emotional support. Brenda Delgado was only spared the death penalty due to an extradition law we have with Mexico, where you cannot extradite someone from Mexico into the United States unless it's guaranteed that they're not going to get the death penalty. So the judge sentenced her to life without parole in 2019. The judge actually told her, "You will spend the rest of your natural born life behind bars." The courtroom was packed with Kendra's family and friends, many of whom gave victim statements. "You destroyed so many lives," Kendra's brother would say. "You planned her death like it was an errand, cold, calculated, without a shed of empathy." But what got me the most was when Kendra's sister got up on the stand and shared how when she first found out this had happened to her sister, the only thing going through her mind was who could have done this. She could not think of anybody that had ever met Kendra and disliked her. I mean, everyone that knew her thought she was such a wonderful person. And she went on and on about how she would never meet her kids, the one she was pregnant with at the time, and how it really affected the family. Her mother also testified, although she did more yelling at Brenda, which I understand as well. Brenda's demeanor during the trial was described by observers as stoic and unrepentant. A former friend of Brenda's who testified during the sentencing said that she used to talk about building a future, becoming professional, maybe having a family. Somewhere along that line, her ambition turned into something dark, something that none of us recognized anymore. Another powerful moment in the courtroom was when Ricky gave a written statement read by the prosecution. "I lost the love of my life because someone I once trusted turned her jealousy into violence. I will never forget the sound of that phone call the moment everything changed." He and Kendra were 24 hours away from a trip to Cancun, Mexico, when Kendra was murdered in cold blood. The trial's end brought little solace to the families forever scarred by Brenda's horrific actions. Ricky, deeply traumatized, retreated from public view. He wrestled with a lot of grief and guilt. And the community of Dallas was just grappled with the stark reality of how a promising future could unravel into a nightmare like this. Brenda Delgado's chilling tale remains a haunting reminder of how a distorted obsession can lead to devastating consequences. Her story serves as a somber lesson of the dangers of jealousy and vengeance. I think this is why the story got me so badly, because it directly messed up 5 lives and indirectly altered, and one ended, one was sentenced to die, and so many family members and friends of Kendra, their lives are forever changed. And for what? A senseless murder of jealousy? Come on. Alright, that's going to do it for today's story. Rest in peace, Kendra. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe for more chilling true crime stories every Twisted Tuesday. Please leave a like for the video. It is actually the one and only way to get our videos pushed out to other viewers on YouTube, so it helps out tremendously. Also, click on the notification bell so you get a notification every Tuesday. And leave a comment, please. I would love to hear from you guys. I would love some feedback. I am working on a lot of other stuff, but I will see you in the next video. So, until I do, always trust your guts.